Hey, what's up guys, John here. What President Joe Biden just announced about retiring in this country says everything about the near future here.
Joe Biden does not have a plan to save Social Security.
Now we got to add social, but we haven't done the math to figure out how much that tax rate would have to be.
The president doesn't have a plan. He has principles.
Millions of retirees are in sheer panic mode over this.
27% of all Americans have no retirement savings, including 401ks and Roth IRAs.
Half of U.S. households have enough savings for retirement, with just 31% of those folks polled having at least $100,000 tucked away.
As we have roughly $190 trillion in unfunded liabilities. $190 trillion just for Medicare, just for Social Security. Medicare Part B, the largest liability with an unfunded amount of $99.5 trillion. Medicare Part D, prescription drugs, missing $22.1 trillion. Social Security needs an additional $68.8 trillion. So you add up these numbers, and what you'll see is $190 trillion is the amount of unfunded liabilities. Now, what this looks like is about 6 times our current national debt. 5 times, 6 times our current national debt. That's what we would need to be able to fund these liabilities. The big problem is that millions of retirees paid into this. They paid into Social Security, they paid into these benefits, and what happened? The government took the money, they put it into a trust account, they converted the funds into bonds, essentially IOUs, and Americans are getting stiffed. Well, President Joe Biden has an announcement as to a solution. He says, Janet Yellen says that, he doesn't really have a plan, but, he comes out and says, you know what, maybe we can extend the program solvency by requiring the highest income Americans to contribute their fair share. Let's look at that. Let's look at this. So if you have 123 million households in America and you have unfunded liabilities of 190 trillion, that would mean that each household across the board would owe $1.5 million. The average net worth per household is $192,000. So that would be 8 times the average household's net worth. That's how bad this situation is. And this is expiring in the next several years. So when you look at this, what you're going to see is one thing very, very clearly. Living standards are going to be falling in a very big way for retirees across the country. We're going to start to see a lot of retirees being forced to sell off their properties, selling off their cars, moving in with their kids. They're going to be doing whatever they have to do to survive. I'm going to break this down for you. I'm going to give you the facts and show you just what's going on. Please hit the like button. Hit the like button. People share this content to educate the people about what's going on in America's economy. If you'd like to fix your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item in your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free strategy session for tomorrow. Take a look at this. This situation is ramping up. First, you have 40% of retirees living solely off of Social Security. So when you see this these benefits get slashed, what's going to happen? Well, they're going to be forced to sell off properties. They're going to be forced to, do situations like this. More Americans are treating their 401ks like cash machines. They're going to start selling things off to survive. Right? Broke boomers are moving in with their millennial kids who are seething. Came out a couple weeks ago. Right? This is already happening. More than 42% of Americans will retire broke, according to 2022 survey taken by Go Banking Rates. And that is not taking into consideration the reduction or elimination of Social Security benefits. Now, what I think is going to be happening is this silver tsunami, where we're going to see so many retirees being forced to sell off their homes. They're going to downsize. They're going to do whatever they have to do. Because when you look at this chart here, from age 55 to 64, it's 23% of all homes in America. From 65 to 74, you have 18.49%. Then 75 to onward, it's 13.58%. If you add these numbers up, it's 55% of all homes in America are owned by people in retirement age, 55 and above, or entering retirement age. So when you have roughly half, or a little bit more than half of all homes in America owned by this, this group, how are they going to be able to maintain ownership of these properties when we start to see, their retirements getting slashed, their payouts getting slashed, their cost of living continuing to skyrocket? It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. We're going to see them being forced to sell. Right now, they say, give or take, there's about 144 million homes. So when you see this situation, what is 55% of 144 million? It's about 7.79 million homes would be owned by retirees if they own 55% of these homes, which according to this data they do. So 79 million homes. Let's say, for example, just 10% are forced to sell, 7.92 million. Let's say 15%, 12 million. Right? You start to look at what this looks like. I'm betting it's going to be, far greater than 10%. Far greater than 15%, probably in that 20, 30, 40% neighborhood, because not a lot of retirees are sitting on millions of dollars. A lot of retirees thought that we'd be living in an environment with 2% inflation. We'd be living in a more affordable world. Not many people are anticipating a world in which they need $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month just to survive. $70,000, $80,000 a year just to survive. That's living really, really close to the chest. Like, you're not going on vacations, not doing much, $70,000, $80,000 a year. And so when you have a situation with 10 years of just expenses, $700,000, $800,000 in cash needed, what happens with somebody that's 65 that needs 30 years, 20 years worth of expenses? How many people are sitting on millions of dollars in cash? Not that many. So what are they going to do? They're going to be forced to sell. Especially if they live in Florida, where insurance is about $6,000 per housing unit per year, right? About $500 a month just for property insurance. The price of properties listed for sale in Florida continues to slide as the state faces a worsening insurance crisis as many sellers struggle with high-income homeowners association fees, HOAs. The housing market in the Sunshine State is currently in a difficult situation. On one side, skyrocketing insurance costs are pushing owners to sell the properties. On the other side, rising costs are discouraging buyers. On Zillow, listing them for properties for sale with a price reduction are on the rise. There's roughly 202,000 properties listed by agents in just Florida. 200,000. Among properties listed by owners and others, 1,167 of 8,654 had a price reduction, right? So you're seeing a price reduction starting to skyrocket, which, to me is very fascinating because you hear about all this situation about insurance, going up. You hear about property taxes going up, soaring property values are now turning into big property tax bills. But what about this? What about this? Because this ties in so well with retirees. Many people, they go on Zillow, they look online, they say, the estimate of my home is $1 million, is $500,000. And people say, you know what? Homes are all-time highs. Home prices are at all-time highs. And retirees and many people think they have all this equity just sitting in their property, right? They have all of this money. They're just waiting to be tapped into at any given time. What's fascinating is they came out one day ago saying that home prices reached a new record high in early 2024. What if Zillow, what if Redfin, what if these social media, real estate companies were, manipulating the data so much so to give people a false sense of security for their retirement, a false sense of security in their net worth to make people calm about, what's really happening in the economy. When people read this and they say, you know what, home prices hit a record high, I look at this and I say, okay, well, if 25% of homes are currently selling for what less than they asked for, and this came out March 5th, right? Then November 10th, sellers are slashing their prices. Fortune magazine, Money.com, October 2nd, sellers are cutting their home prices due to high mortgage rates. March 15th, home sellers are cutting their listing price. Home sellers are cutting the prices, right? So which one is it? Home prices are getting slashed as inventory climbs. All of this, Deal Alert, top 10 major cities, all of this data is coming out at the same time they say the housing market is booming. Now, what I think is happening is I think we need to really, really pay very close attention to, how we calculate net worth. What's really going on in the U.S. economy? Is the unemployment data, 3-4%? Is inflation 2-3%? Or are things much, much, much worse? And retirees are about to get a massive wake-up call nationwide over the next couple of years. I'm betting that that's what's going to happen. I'm betting 401k withdrawals, these hardship withdrawals are going to continue to skyrocket, and people are going to be forced to sell off assets. And this situation that we're living in with the Zillow and the Zestimates and the Redfins, and everyone living off of this information thinking this is what's true, that bubble is going to pop. I think if you list your home for sale, or you're looking at listing your home for sale, you might not get what many people think they would get. Everything is changing in the real estate market. I mean, think about this. If mortgage rates are 7.5% and a home price is $500,000, how many people with property tax and insurance can go afford, $4,500 a month with upkeep and everything? How many people can afford that? I don't think that many. I don't think that many. You need to make $150,000 a year to be able to afford a $450,000 house, $500,000 house. How many people can really afford that today with the debt levels? I mean, right now they're saying the national debt per person right here is $102,000. $102,000 per person. Drop below. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen with retirees? Do you think we're going to see a situation, a silver tsunami, so to speak, where we're going to see millions and millions and millions of retirees forced to sell up their properties to try to make ends meet at prices far below what, Zillow is telling? Drop below. Let's have a conversation about this. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself, what I believe is going to be the greatest wealth transfer and the greatest fire sale of assets in American history, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item in a credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free call for tomorrow. I'll catch you next video.